Hello, mystics. Today we're talking about the Wheel of the Year celebrations, Beltane, also known as one of the 8 Wiccan Sabbaths. Beltane, one of the most important Wiccan holidays, is known as the Quarter Cross Irish Festival, falling roughly halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. This is the time where the days grow longer and the sun's strength is waxing or growing stronger. The ancient Celtic year was divided into 2 halves, the light and the dark. Samhain was the beginning of the dark half of the year, and its counterpart, Beltane, was the beginning of the light half. Our modern neo-pagan Beltane borrows its name and some of its more prominent customs from early pre-Christian Celtic festivals of Beltane, which is celebrated at the midpoint of the Celtic year and the beginning of the summer season. The Beltane name is believed to come from the Irish words bel and tine, which means bright fire. The bright fires of Beltane represent the light and the warmth of the sun. Fires are traditionally lit as a symbol on Beltane Eve of purification and protection. The ancient Celts believed that the fires would purify the land and protect their cattle and crops. The history of Beltane goes back centuries to the pre-Christian era in Europe. Beltane, as the modern pagans know it, has its roots in the ancient Roman festival of Floralia, as well as the early pre-Christian Celtic festival of Beltane, also known later as May Day. The Romans held Floralia, an annual festival in honor of the goddess Flora, at the beginning of May and at the end of April. According to the ancient scholar Ovid, the first ever Floralia festival was held in 238 BC to commemorate the founding goddess of Flora's temple, built on advice of an oracle. Flora was the goddess of fertility, vegetation, and flowers, a sacred lady in charge of growing things. One of her monikers was the goddess of the flowering plants. Imported from Greece, she was the Roman equivalent of Chloris, the Greek goddess of flowers. The Floralia festival, held in Flora's honor, included games, performances, stripteases, feasting, dancing, and an atmosphere of sexual liberty and wild abandon. At first, the Floralia was only held occasionally, at times when the crops were deemed in danger. But by 173 BCE, the festival became frequent. The Floralia became an annual event believed to help ensure the favor of the goddess and encourage fertility in the crops, livestock, and people. The name Beltane may have been originally connected to worship the Celtic god Belenus. Belenus was a widely recognized deity associated with healing, and his worship dates all the way back to prehistoric times. While Belenus is closely related to the Roman god Apollo, the god of light and sun, in the ancient Celtic culture, Belenus was associated with fountains, health, and the pastoral life. Belenus is associated with symbols of the phallic-shaped stone, the bull, the horse, and the oak tree. The earliest mention of the festival of Beltane is found in an early medieval text from Ireland, written by Cormac, Bishop of Cashel and the King of Munster. The text reports a festival held on May 1st to mark the beginning of summer, and it describes a fire ritual performed by the Druids at this time. 2 fires were made, and as incantations were spoken, the cattle were forced to pass between 2 torrents of raging flames. There's also a ritual regarding fire that includes that all household fires were extinguished at Beltane and relit from the communal bonfires. Both cattle and people would walk between the 2 raging bonfires, or alternatively, walk around the circuit of the fire, or for the brave, jumping over or leaping through the flames as a magical act intended to ensure good harvest. The Beltane fires were believed to have magical properties. Their flames, their glowing embers, and their ashes, even their smoke, were all believed capable of granting health and protection. Once the fire died down, the ashes were sprinkled over the crops to increase the earth's fertility. Another important symbol at Beltane is a cauldron. It's more of a common focal point in the ceremony. It represents, of course, water, the womb, and the goddess, the essence of womanhood. The cauldron is the equal but opposite part of the maypole, which is symbolic of the phallic god. which we'll get into more later. It was widely believed that the Beltane morning dew was infused with magical powers, capable of preserving youth, clearing skin ailments, and enhancing beauty and sexual attractiveness. Young women would often roll in the morning dew on Beltane morning and simply anoint their faces with the heavenly dew. Sometimes the dew was collected in a jar and left in the sunlight. It was then filtered and kept for use throughout the year as a versatile potion for beauty and healing. Holy wells were also visited during the festival, and the first water drawn from the well on Beltane morning was thought to be extremely potent and magical. People would walk clockwise around the well to mimic the direction of the sun, moving from east to west, then offering coins or other small tokens, which were given to the sacred well's residing spirit in hopes of gaining their favor and blessing. Beltane is typically celebrated on May 1st, but the holiday actually starts on the evening of April 30th into May 1st. This was a time for community to come together, light bonfires, dance, and engage in rituals to honor the goddess of the land and the god of the sun. One of the most important elements of Beltane is the sacred marriage between the god and the goddess, what the Wiccans call the Great Rite. According to Scott Cunningham, Beltane, or April 30th, marks the emergence of the young god into manhood. Stirred by the energies at work in nature, he desires the goddess. They fall in love and lie among the grasses and blossoms and unite. The goddess becomes pregnant of the god. This is a symbol of fertility and abundance, and was believed to ensure a bountiful harvest in the upcoming months. Many Beltane traditions involve dancing around a maypole, where people dance around a tall pole decorated with flowers and ribbons. The dance symbolizes the union of male and female energies in nature and represents the union between the god and the goddess. Scott Cunningham explains further. Maypoles, supremely phallic symbols, were the focal point of the Old English village rituals. Many persons rose at dawn to gather flowers and green branches from the fields and gardens, using them to decorate the maypoles, their homes, and themselves. Flowers and greenery symbolize the goddess, the maypole, the god. Beltane marks the return of vitality, of passion, and hopes consummated. Our modern Beltane is a composite of many different traditions and practices, a blending of cultures and customs, celebrating the beginning of summer and a time of fertility and abundance. In addition to these customs, Beltane is also a time for spring cleaning and a fresh start. Many people deep clean their homes, their gardens, and make offerings to the gods and goddesses in their tradition, expressing gratitude for the blessings of spring. In modern times, Beltane has also become a time for environmental activism and raising awareness about issues such as climate change and the protection of natural resources. Many Wiccans use the holiday as an opportunity to connect with nature and take actions to support the health of the planet. In modern times, Beltane is still celebrated by many people, including practitioners of Wicca, neo-pagans, spiritualists, occultists, and other earth-based spiritual traditions. The holiday is often observed by lighting bonfires, dancing around maypoles, and engaging in acts of purification and renewal. It's also a time for feasting. Many pagans will prepare traditional foods such as oat cakes, honey cakes, and mead. Beltane is a time of fertility, creativity, and growth. It's a time to renew our connection to the natural world and a time to celebrate our role in manifesting the natural world. Beltane reminds us that we are every bit dependent on the earth's fertility as our ancestors were. We are dependent on nature without a doubt, but at the same time, we ourselves are a part of nature, and we therefore have the ability to influence it, care for it, and tend to it. Beltane is a time where we can empower the world around us through our physical, mundane actions and a little bit of magic. We will talk about more ways to celebrate Beltane in the Zoom class. I can't wait to see all of you there. And until next time, mystics, stay magical.